All right, so we're heading down to Austin, Texas this time. Live music, bustling nightlife, that whole vibe. But lately there's this, well, unsettling feeling surrounding Lady Bird Lake.
And what's got everyone talking is that it's not just a one-off thing, right? We've been digging into news articles, social media, even a whole petition, all about these drownings. Young guys, mostly, last seen out enjoying this city scene.
And you, our listeners, you've been sending us tons of info on this, so we know you're ready to get into it. No sensationalizing here, just us diving deep into these sources, separating the facts from the noise, figuring out if there's really a pattern here, and letting you decide what you think.
Yeah, because that's the big question, isn't it? Tragic accidents or something more going on under the surface of Lady Bird Lake.
Let's back up a bit to 2008. Rahad Hamed, found dead in the lake. Seemed open and shut, suicide,
Until you get to the details. Hamed's body bound, duct taped. Not your everyday suicide, right? Huge red flag there. I mean, how's that even possible?
It's a detail that just sticks with you, especially with what came after. More drownings, often young men, last seen around the rainy street bars.
And that's what makes it so unnerving. Not just the drownings, but the victims, where they were. Makes you wonder, are these random, or is there a link we need to be looking at?
Now jump ahead to 2022, Jason John's case. Found in the lake, accidental drowning, they said. But his family, they weren't buying it. They were so involved in the search, and they felt strongly that there was more to it.
That lack of closure, the feeling that authorities aren't being totally upfront, it comes up again and again in these cases, and it often just creates more suspicion instead of giving those families some peace.
And that suspicion grew even more after Martin Gutierrez died in 2018. His case, it really sparked a firestorm.
For sure. Gone missing from Rainy Street, security footage showing him, well, out of it after just one drink. Later, they find him in the lake. Imagine being his family, hoping, then getting that news. Just awful.
His brother, Mitchell, he's been so vocal, convinced it wasn't an accident. He's dedicated himself to getting the word out, pushing for a real investigation into Martin's death and all the others like it.
What Mitchell is doing, it's both heartbreaking and really inspiring. Shows how much love there is, but also the desperate need for answers when you lose someone this way.
So we have these drownings, victims who fit a certain profile, and this wave of doubt about the official explanations. It's like a powder keg, ready to blow. We've got to unpack these theories, the expert opinions, everything going around. Let's start with what the police are saying.
Austin PD, they've always said these are accidents. Alcohol, easy access to the water, that's their story. And yeah, for some drownings, maybe that's it. But when you see it happening this much, the same type of person, the same area, you can see why some folks are looking for more concrete explanations.
Right, and that's where the serial killer idea takes hold. It's all over online, people comparing these cases to other drowning deaths all over the country.
And look, it's good to be skeptical of these theories, but you can't just dismiss the questions they raise. When you have this many cases with these kinds of similarities, people will connect the dots, especially when the official story feels incomplete.
Some people even bring up the smiley face killer theory, terrifying thought. Someone targeting young men, making it look like accidents.
And then there's this petition going around demanding a real investigation into the Austin drownings. One they single out is Christopher Hayes Clark, found in the lake in 23. His ex-partner, Rhiannon Aparicio, she's positive there was foul play, even thinks the police might be involved.
That's a serious accusation, and sadly, not unheard of. And then you have Christian Pugh back in 2019, attacked after a night on Rainy Street, then found hurt near the lake. Ruled an accident, even though he was clearly assaulted.
And that takes us back to what we were talking about before. When authorities aren't transparent, it often just makes things worse. These cases, with the unanswered questions, the details that don't quite add up, it just screams for a deeper look. Something more than just writing them off as drunk accidents.
And talking about scary stories, Jeff Jones's experience will give you chills. He's convinced he barely escaped being another victim just last year. Bachelor party, gets drugged with Rohypnol, falls 25 feet off a bridge into the river, wakes up in the hospital, hurt bad, but alive.
And what's really messed up is they found Rohypnol in his system, but no alcohol. So someone drugged him on purpose. And get this, the bridge he fell from, practically impossible to fall from by accident.
High walls, you know? And he landed just a few feet from the water. If he'd been any closer, well, he probably wouldn't have survived.
This near miss, when you put it together with everything else, it's definitely alarming. Hard to ignore the possibility that there's something more going on, that these drownings aren't what they seem. And don't forget, it might not even be limited to just Lady Bird Lake.
Exactly. Most of the attention's been on the lake itself, but then you have similar deaths in the surrounding areas. Could this be bigger than just one location?
Which brings us to the big question. What if this isn't just a Lady Bird Lake problem, but a sign of a much bigger issue, a pattern that needs a way more serious investigation? And that's something we're going to get into in just a bit. It's just shrouded in mystery, isn't it? All these unanswered questions and this feeling that something's not right. The families, these young men, they deserve better. They deserve answers. Can't just brush it off as accidents anymore, can we?
No, you're so right. It's easy to get caught up in the true crime aspect, but these are real lives lost, a whole community trying to make sense of it all. And it makes you think, what can we actually learn from all of this? How do we keep ourselves and each other safe?
And that's what's important to remember. This isn't just an Austin thing. You hear these stories and you see those common elements. Nightlife, alcohol, maybe someone's drugged, vulnerable people. This could be any city, anywhere. Really makes you think twice about your surroundings, even when you think you're safe.
So for everyone listening, what are the real takeaways? What can you do to stay safe, whether you're planning a trip to Austin or just heading out for a night in your own town?
I'll say it again and again. Trust your gut. If something doesn't feel right, it probably isn't. Don't ignore that feeling. Don't let anyone pressure you into something you're not comfortable with.
And seriously, can't stress this enough. Never leave your drink unattended, not even for a second. Better safe than sorry. Just grab a new one if you have to.
And the buddy system. It's not just for kids. Look out for your friends. They look out for you. Someone seems way too drunk after one drink. Don't leave them alone. Could be something more serious.
And if you see someone who seems out of it, lost, confused, don't hesitate. Step in, call for help. It might be nothing, but it might be something, and you might just help someone out.
These cases, they're a harsh reminder to be aware, to pay attention. You can reduce your risk if you're careful, watch how much you drink, know what's going on around you, look after each other. Simple things, but they make a difference.
Absolutely. We talked about that petition, how they're asking for more safety measures, cameras, better lighting, but at the end of the day, safety's on all of us, not just the city, not just the cops.
Right, it's a collective effort. And you know what's really powerful about all of this? The fact that people are speaking up, that petition is gaining traction. People are paying attention. They want answers. You see something off, report it. If you feel unsafe, say something. Don't wait for someone else to do it. Your voice mattered. Your actions matter.
That really resonated with me reading through everything, this feeling of frustration, like they're not being heard.
Yeah, and that lack of transparency, that feeling of not being taken seriously, it really erodes trust. Whether it's true or not, that perception of a cover-up, of apathy, it just breeds fear and suspicion. And that's when the rumors start swirling.
Especially with cases like Christopher Hayes Clark, his ex-partner, Rena Aparicio. She's adamant that the police were involved, talking about evidence going missing, leads not being followed.
And her words are powerful.
Yeah.
They're not even trying, they just close the cases, drowning, undetermined, and move on. No answers, nothing for the families. It's heartbreaking, that feeling of being completely dismissed.
It is. It really highlights why people like Mitchell Gutierrez are so important. He hasn't given up, fighting for his brother and for the other families who are going through this.
It's honestly incredible, his dedication, doing his own investigation, reviewing footage, talking to people, pushing law enforcement to take these cases seriously.
And he's not afraid to call them out, saying they're too quick to dismiss these deaths. I mean, he's got a point, he said. It's like they're reading from a script every time, the same thing. If they were all different, why would they say the same thing about each one?
That consistency, sticking to the same story, even though the cases are different, it makes you wonder, are they really investigating properly, or are they just trying to close cases quickly?
Mitchell said something else that stuck with me. He was talking about how these drownings have been increasing and how it wasn't like this before. He said, "You didn't see this back then, not when I lived in Austin, not in college, and then suddenly it's constant." And he's right, it's a huge increase, and we can't just pretend it's not happening.
Nope, it's a pattern, and it needs to be investigated. So many deaths, all these similarities, and no one giving a real explanation. It's no wonder people are scared, thinking something sinister is happening.
And it's not just the drownings. Let's not forget about all the people talking about being drugged on Rainey Street, blacking out, not remembering anything.
Cases like Jeff Jones, that adds another level to this whole thing. Someone drugging people on purpose. It means they're vulnerable, more likely to be victims.
And it's not just rumors, it's documented. Remember Christian Pugh back in 19, attacked on Rainey Street, then found hurt by the lake. They called it an accident, but he was assaulted right before. You can't just ignore that.
Exactly. All these pieces, the injuries that don't make sense, the victims all fitting a certain type, the drugging stories, it all adds up to something that needs a real investigation, an independent one that doesn't just stop at accidental drowning, but looks into whether someone's targeting people and if there's something going on in the system that's allowing this to happen.
Man, it's heavy stuff, but we always say it's not about just getting spooked, right? These are real people, real tragedies, and a whole lot of unanswered questions. So what do we do with all of this? What have we learned? And how do we keep ourselves safe?
And it's not just about Austin, is it? Think about what we keep seeing. A busy nightlife scene, alcohol's involved, maybe someone gets drugged, someone who's vulnerable. This could be anywhere, any city.
Yeah.
Really makes you realize danger doesn't always look like what you expect. It can be right there when you're out having a good time.
Exactly.